everyone, welcome to our PSHE lesson. So today children we are going to be learning to make dinosaur bones. So to make dinosaur bones you're going to need some items to collect. So Miss Singh has measured out her items. Now I've put the recipe up, so before we start this lesson or before you watch this video you can get all your items together and measure them out in bowls just like Miss Singh has. So I have got salt, flour and water, and then I've also got a bowl, wooden spoon, some dinosaur bone shapes which are also on the website, and a fork and a knife and a rolling pin because we're going to need to roll our dough out when we're ready. So the first thing children, what we are going to do is we're going to pour our items into the bowl one at a time, and then we're going to mix them together to make a dough, and then what we're going to do is make some bones from that dough. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I have measured 201 grams out. So what you're going to have to do is ask your mummies and daddies to help you with this, or a big brother and sister if you have one. So I have measured 201 grams into this bowl. So I'm going to pour this slowly and carefully into my bowl, just like this. So I've put my flour in first. I have then measured the same amount with my salt, so that's 201 grams again, or a cup. If you've got some of the measuring cups, you only need 1 cup of salt, you need 2 cups of flour. So in goes my salt. And then what I'm going to do, children, with my wooden spoon, I'm going to slowly and carefully mix my flour and salt. So I'm going to make sure it's all stirred up. So once I have done that, children, I'm going to tap it on the edge and put my wooden spoon down. Now, this is where it comes the tricky part. So I'm going to roll my sleeves up. I'm going to make sure my hair is all tied back so I don't get any dough in my hair. And then I'm going to get my water. So with the same children, I have got 201 grams of water, or a cup full of water, if that's easier for you. And I'm going to pour a little bit of water in. And then this is where my fork's going to help me, because you can use a wooden spoon, but I find a fork easier. So I'm going to use my fork to stir it. I'm going to keep stirring until it becomes lumpy and I can't see no more water. So it's starting to get lumpy, children, which means it's turning into a dough. So I can't see no more water, so I'm going to put my fork down and I'm going to add some more water. So I'm going to add a bit more water, but not all of it. So I've still got some left in my bowl. And I'm going to make sure I stir. Now it can become quite tough, so you might want someone to help you hold the bowl while you stir, because it can get quite tough. So I'm going to just take some off my fork. Now you can see, children, it's starting to become a dough, but I think I need some more water because I've still got some flour in here that hasn't been mixed. So if you have that problem, that means you need some more water. So I'm now, children, going to pour the rest of my water in. So that's all been used, and I'm going to give it a stir and see if that helps the rest of my flour come together. So we want it to be a bit sticky. So if you want to, you don't have to use a wooden spoon or a fork. This is the part now I'm going to get my hands all messy. So I'm going to make sure my sleeves are rolled up and I'm going to get my hands stuck in. And I'm going to make sure I'm going to bring it round in a circle. So I'm going to get it into a ball. So I'm going to put all the flour that's coming together into a ball. So at the moment I can see there's still lots of flour, children, in the bottom of my bowl. So that means Miss Singh needs some more water. So Miss Singh is just going to get some more water now. So 1 cup might not be enough, children, okay? So Miss Singh's just going to get more water. So I've got about half a jug of water here, so I'm just going to keep pouring a little bit in at a time until I can see that all the flour has been stuck together. That's a bit better. Now I don't want my flour too wet because if it's too wet, it's going to be too sticky. So I'm just rolling it into a ball again. So you're looking for like a Play-Doh type kind of look and a feel of Play-Doh. So if you think it's too sticky, where it's too stringy, it means it's too wet, children. So it probably means you need a bit more flour. So I would say my dough has come into a ball. So if I take this out, all you can see is a little bit of flour left at the bottom. So I'm going to take this out, and all this flour at the bottom, then I can just add a bit more water in. So if I take all the dough off my fingers and put it into the ball, just like I have done, and then if I use the rest of the water, children, just a little bit, and I'm going to mix this bit at the bottom. See, and it's starting to become clumpy now, because we don't want to waste any. We want to make as many bones as we can. So there we go. There we go. So I have used all my flour up in the bowl. So I'm going to put that together. Now this is where the fun part comes in, children. So we're going to get both our hands and we're going to push it together. So this thing's just going to press and roll. So I'm going to roll it and push down. Roll it and push down. I'm going to lift it up, roll it and push down, roll it and push down. And this is called kneading, children. It's a bit like making bread, if you've ever had a go making bread at home. So we're just going to knead the dough. So I'm going to roll and press. Roll and press really hard. You're going to need some muscles for this one. So, and it should, children, start to look like a piece of dough. It should look like a ball of dough, just like that. And that should be fine. So then what you're going to do is you're going to shake your hands together to get all that dough off. And now I have also made sure my table is covered. So if you've got something to cover your table at home, that might be helpful so you don't make too much mess. So what I'm going to then do, children, is I've got my knife, my plastic knife, so it's not too sharp, and I'm going to cut my dough. So you might want to ask your mummies and daddies to help you with this part, or if you've got some scissors, you could use some scissors. And I'm going to use half my dough. I'm then going to cut it in half again. So I've got 2, and I'm going to make another 2. So I'm going to cut in the middle again. So all Miss Singh has done is I've put my ball together, I've cut it down the middle and taken it away, and then I've got my knife and I've cut it into 2 again. I only need 1 piece. And then, children, this is where if you've got a rolling pin, or if you haven't got a rolling pin, you could just press it down flat with your hand. So I can press it down flat, or you can use a rolling pin. So I'm going to roll my dough out. So I want my bones to be quite thick. So I've left it quite thick, if you can see. It's not too thin. And then this is where the fun part comes in as well. So I've got my bones already cut out. So I'm going to stick that down on paper. And then, children, I'm going to use my plastic knife to help me cut them out. So I'm going to cut round using my knife, or if you haven't got a plastic knife, you could use a pencil or something quite sharp to help you. Remember, children, to ask your mummies and daddies. So all Miss Singh is doing is she's following the shape of the bone to help me make a bone shape, just like this. Or if you've got one of those rolly cutters, that could be helpful. So then, children, I should be left with a bone shape, like that. So I'm just going to make sure I've got my little, pinch it in the middle with my knife to make the edges of the bone. And that's 1 bone. So I'm going to do the same again, children, because I'm going to make different size bones. And you can make as many as you want. You could make 5, you could make 10, you could make as many as you want. So this is going to push the dough down again. And you can make some thin, you could make some fat. So this one's going to be really big and chunky, children. So I'm going to make a smaller bow. So I'm going to push it down again, get my knife and start cutting around my bone really carefully. And I'm taking my time and being extra careful. And then I'm going to pull the dough around it. A bit like a cookie cutter.
Just seems a bit odd.
And then I'm going to just tie it up by tapping it round.
I might just say I'm a bit, you know.
And then children, I've made another bone. So I've got one quite thin bone, I've got a nice thick bone here.
Yeah.
And I've got one longer and one shorter because I know you've been learning about length with Mrs. Gray this week. So I'm going to push down again. I think I want mine quite thick again. So I've got a baby bone this time, so I'm going to push that down and I'm going to have a go cutting around this one. Now, like I said, you can make as many as you want to. Miss Singh's going to make 4 because I want different sizes. And then I'm going to pull it apart so I'm left with the shape. And then to make the bone shape, I'm going to use my fingers to smooth it out and make the little round bits at the end. And there's my other bone. So I've got one more to do, so I'm going to roll it again in a ball, push it down. I might make this one quite thin because I need quite a long piece of dough to fit my longer bone in. So I'm going to roll my dough all out this time. I think this one might be quite thin. So I'm going to push it down. I'm going to use my knife and cut round my bone. And then I'm going to take it away. Look at that, children. I think that's my best bone. So now I have got all different types of bone. And then what you're going to do, children, I've got lots of dough left over, so I could make as many as I wanted to, but I think I'm only going to do 4. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've got different lengths. So I've got some longer, some shorter, and I've got some with different thicknesses in. So this one's quite thin, but this one's quite thick. So you can make them however you want to. And then once you're finished making your bones, children, you're going to put them on some paper towels, or you could put them on a baking tray and leave them to dry overnight. So don't touch them because we're going to need them to dry out and go really hard. And when they're ready and they're nice and hard, that means that they're ready for our next lesson, which we will see later this week. So I hope you have fun making salt dough. And if you do make any, could you take some pictures and show us, because we would love to see your learning at home. So I'll take care and I'll see you soon. Bye.